Yes, madam.
Okay. So today we are going to talk about project management. In this lecture series, we'll be mainly discussing about specifically about IT project management. Okay. So first of all, so why do we need to learn about project management and why is it a hot topic in IT projects and companies? And why project managers are paid a lot of money. So all of them have reasons. So mainly, if you look at the research data, so many of worldwide IT spending is projected to total $3.76 trillion in 2019. So it is an increase of 3.2% from 2018. So there's a huge amount of money allocated for IT related projects. Okay. So this increases yearly. If you look at the statistics, you can see the increasing trend in this data. Okay. So according to 2017 report of Project Management Institute, so it is an institute which issues certification for project managers. So they say that 40% of IT projects fail. Okay. So actually, although you may think that this is a quite comparably low amount, the other so that is only the total failures. 40% totally fails. Okay. So the other projects we didn't fail also could not. Some projects could not meet their specific objectives, and some could not achieve their budget goals, and some could not achieve their timeline schedule goals. Okay. So because of these reasons, these software companies pay much attention on project management. How can you manage a project to meet the specific requirement of the customer, to do it within a given timeline, to adhere with the given budget, and to meet the goals. Okay, so mainly these three things with a good quality. So because of this reason, project management is a very important topic in software companies. So how do we measure a successful project? Okay. So according to this project management institution, so that's an institution which holds, which issues qualifications for project managers. So there are certificates which would be issued after holding some examinations, and they define the standards. This, if you can browse this in web and try to find out their website and read more about this project management institution. Okay, they mention 6 factors which must be met for a project to be successful. Okay, so the first factor is it is delivered on time, and the second one is cost doesn't exceed its budget, and this works as designed. So this factor, it works as designed. It is mainly related with this customer's requirement or the scope. So it should work as designed. So it's designed to work in a way that customer wants. It should, I mean, it should work as designed. And fourth one is people should use it. People use it if you can only capture the requirement of the people. And fourthly, the people who funded the project are happy with it because they have reached their requirement, reached their goal. And the last one is it meets the goals that drove the project. So this last factor is related with all of these 3 factors mentioned. Okay. So all of these 3 factors mentioned are actually related with this related with the last fact. Okay. So what are the advantages of using project management? So if it's so important, what are the main advantages? So when you have a very good project management system, so you have better control of financial, physical, and human resources. So that's mainly because these project managers are trying to reach those goals. And the customer relations are improved mainly because we are holding stakeholder meetings. So frequently because of this project management, and we need to discuss some issues with the stakeholders. So it would improve customer relationships and shorter development times because everything is managed. So we know if we are running out of time beforehand, okay? So that is also very important. And lower costs. Costs are lower because budget is well managed, and we forecast for the future costs, and we estimate future costs so that we can be prepared for the future. So because of that, we can have lower costs, higher quality and increased reliability. So the quality would increase mainly because project quality management is one of the major areas in project management. Quality would be maintained up to certain standards required by the customer. So we would have higher quality, and the reliability would be increased mainly because of following those quality standards mentioned. And productivity is improved because the productivity is mainly related with the customer's requirement, and if we can meet their requirement, our product would be, our final result would be very productive. And better internal coordination, this is mainly happening because of the project manager always try to engage all people in their discussions, and he would individually look at their work as well as works directly with the team leaders to achieve a certain goal. So internal coordination is really improved. And higher worker morale. So the environment would be less stress because we are tracking the time, and we are tracking the budget, and we are tracking the requirement, the scope. So because of that, the project, there's a less probability that project would end up with not having any money to spend anymore, or not having some time problems with the schedules. Okay, so because of that, these are the main advantages of we can see in project management. So you'll realize these things when you will understand these things properly when we discuss the other topics in the coming lectures. So these are the main topics that would be covered: introduction to project management, and then would be that topic would be discussed today. And there are 10 project management knowledge areas, so that excuse me. Okay, so there are 10 management areas which would be managed by a project manager. They are called 10 knowledge management areas in project management. So that we'll be discussing, and project management process also would be discussed. Okay. So after discussing about introduction to project management today, in the second week we'll be discussing about project management process, and then the 10 knowledge management areas. In between, we'll have a group assignment. So I will check whether I can include the marks in the final evaluation criteria. I'm not sure. We had actually a plan and a discussion to have this continuous assessment thing in these courses. So if it can be done, I will do that from your batch. Okay. So we have sent it for approval at the time. Learning outcomes of this particular lesson would be understanding the growing need for better project management. So today's topic is Introduction to Project Management. So at the end of the lecture, you will understand the growing need for better project management, especially for IT projects. And at the end, you will be able to define a project, what is a project, and what are the attributes of a project. And you will be able to give examples and various attributes of the projects, and you will be also able to describe triple constraints, which are cost, time, and scope of a project. And at the end, you will learn some ethics in project management as well. And I will introduce you some project management software, which will be important when applying this knowledge which we discussed today, not today actually, during this lecture series. So these are the main resources. I would like to particularly highlight the second reference. This one, IT Project Management 8th edition by Kathy. So most of the content we are discussing would be from this IT project management book, and the other books are also incorporated, like Head First PMP, newer version than this. Okay, you need to read this. So this is 2016, 8th edition is 2016. So most of these books are available in the library. However, they may not be the most available new versions. So after the 8th edition, they have a 9th edition as well. So however, I could not access this 9th edition. So let's go with the 8th edition. I don't think there would be much difference in these books. Okay. So try to find a book from the library, either from library, or you can have some e-copies from the web. Some generous people have shared. So please have a look at that. So our topic today is Introduction to Project Management. So first of all, there's an activity designed for you. So you can't get into groups, I know. And think about 3 IT projects that you would propose as your final year project. So you know you have to do a final year IT project next year. So, so let this be some opportunity for you to think about a novel project idea. So what would you do do as your final year project? So I'll give you 2 minutes. So each person have to think about a project idea. Okay, some of you may have already thought about that, or maybe may have started doing some work towards a project. So, so think about not 3 IT projects, maybe 1 IT project that you would propose as your final year project. I'll give you 2 minutes. And I'll ask from some person randomly so that they can unmute your microphone and let me know, okay? Okay. So can one of you let me know your idea? Can Harsha let me know? Harsha. Or Dinuranga? Or any volunteer? Can you please let me know IT project you would plan to do? You're not planning to do any IT projects at the end of this year? Okay, so I think I have some examples. I'm not wasting time because I don't know whether how your connection is and whether you're here or not, and there are problems. But normally in other lectures, at least they answer using chat. Okay, especially the first years, they enroll very actively during these lecture sessions. So I believe you also are able to do that, and I expect that from you. So for the success of these lectures. So a project. So I think I have good examples. So yeah, these are some examples. Software developers implementing a new information system to sell products of a company on the web. So so that is one good example. And upgrade to the Universal Library System software by adding some new features required. And company set up broadband services between headquarters and the retail shops all over the world. So that is also a kind of IT project which is related much with the infrastructure. And a team of students create a smartphone application and sell it online. So that is also one of the IT projects. And government group develops a system to track child immunizations. So that is another project, IT project. So to give it a start, so what a project is? A project is defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So this is taken from a definition given by this project management body of knowledge. So this is the expanded term of this project management body of knowledge, which is published by PMI, Project Management Institution. Okay. So that there are several versions available in the web. I think the resources also are highlighted at the first reference because it has such an importance. So project management body of knowledge by PMI. So there are several versions. You can have the accessible newest version. Okay. So there are several versions are accessible by us. Some people have uploaded them as well. So you can have the newest version which is accessible, which is defined by PMI. So this is taken from 2017 6th edition of PM BOK or PM Body of Knowledge. So that's some kind of standards, so guidelines developed for project managers. So it is defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So, so just keep this definition for a while and think like this. So assume that you are planning your planning to build your house. Okay, so that the picture also relates with that. So is the building house is a project? Do you think so? So can you relate with this definition now? So if the building of a house for yourself would be a project, does it a temporary endeavor? Is it temporary thing? Permanently would you build your house? No. In a particular time period, you will build your house, isn't it? So the first requirement is satisfied. So it's a temporary undertaken to create a unique product. So is your house unique one? Yes, your house is unique to yourself. So if you look at your parents' built house, which you are living currently. So in that house, all the requirements may be specified according to your parents. Okay. So your house also would be specified by yourself. Okay. So there should be 3 bedrooms. There should be 2 toilets. There should be a nice garden around your house. There should be 3 car parks. So like this, it's specified by yourself. So it's unique to your ideas and your requirements. Okay. So yes, building a house, it's a temporary endeavor. It would not be carried out for a lifetime. So, and it's creating a unique product, okay, which is the house built to your own requirements. So building a house is a real project, okay. So projects would end when their objectives reached or project has been terminated, maybe because you don't have money, you just stop building your house, maybe temporarily. So likewise, it has an end. Okay, somewhere you will end up with 2 stories. So violating your plan. Somewhere it would end at the timeline you have allocated. Okay, and it can be a large or small project and would take a short or long time to complete. Okay, it does not have a strict timeline as a project should be ended by 3 months. Okay, your plan would be 5 years, or your plan would be 6 months for a small project, IT project. Okay. However, there's a main difference between a project and a process or operations. Okay. Operations is work done to sustain business, and project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product. Okay. So there's the main difference is operations are continuously done throughout the lifetime of the company. Okay, project is not like that. So it is something which is done within a given specific time period, okay, towards a specific goal. So these are the main attributes of a project. A project should have a unique purpose. So that is also related with that definition. So it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product. So it should have a unique purpose. Okay, and it's temporary. It would not last for years, but sometimes it would last for years. However, after that particular planned years, it should end. Okay, it's developed using progressive elaboration. So what is progressive elaboration? So normally you know about IT projects, the specifications or the requirements initially are very unclear, okay, and very broad. Even the customer does not know how to explain their requirement is because he does not know the product. About the product, the computer software engineers can provide them. Okay, so there's a great distance between the 2 parties. Because of that, specifications of the project are initially very unclear and broad. Okay. However, step by step, when you're proceeding or when you're developing the project, with the project, these specifications become refined and more detailed as the project progresses. This is mainly because of the understanding of 2 parties, and you can, after some time, you can see what kind of solutions the software company can provide you for your requirements. So then the requirements become refined day by day. Okay. So as the project progresses, these requirements are refined and become more detailed. So that's why we are called, the process is progressive. Okay. So it's developing day by day like this. initially the requirements are very unclear. However, after some several rounds, iterations of discussions, the requirements become clearer and clearer. So this is progressive. Okay. So these projects require resources from various areas, like it may require hardware, it may require good human resources for coding, for designing, system analysis, consultants. So it requires various resources. So that is one other attribute in project management. And you mainly have a primary customer or a sponsor who would usually provide the requirements and funding. So what's very important is funding. So without funds, you can't survive. So he puts money mainly because of this direction of his requirement. Okay. And it would involve uncertainty, mainly because of these unclear objectives, and it would be difficult to estimate time to complete and cost, mainly because initially these objectives are very unclear. So it's very difficult to plan for a schedule and also a timeline and the cost budget line. Okay? And it would depend on external factors as well. So we would have to hire some people from outside and get hardware components from outside. So likewise, it would depend on external factors. So those are the main attributes of a project. So up to now, we have discussed the main advantages of projects and what a successful project is. And I think you now have a good understanding about what a project is, okay? And we discuss about attributes as well. So now let's look at triggers of projects. So what would trigger a project? What are the factors that would trigger a project? Okay. So these triggers mainly are the reasons for project they are now. Okay. So as an example, one trigger is a request from a customer. Maybe a customer requested some attribute in the current system is missing. Okay. So then we may look at that and we would try to implement that. So that would become an IT project. And a business need, your business may need to expand, you may need to open more branches. So then you need the software to manage all the requirements of these branches. So that is one of the business needs. A technological advancement, sometimes new technologies appear and the old ones becomes obsolete. So because of this technological advancements, we may start IT projects. As a good example, these mobile applications. So these mobile applications came up, so many people need to develop mobile applications to help their business. So there is one that becomes one trigger for IT project. A legal requirement, maybe legally there is requirements that you should have this requirement in your software. So then IT project would be started. And the market demand also plays a main role, mainly because this in the market, you can see some software is mainly required, but it's not available there. So that also would trigger a project in IT projects, trigger IT projects. So these are some triggers, and there are many more apart from this. So you can think of the others as well. Read about the triggers. And this is mainly the facts discussed today are mainly related with the chapter 1 of Kathy's IT project management book. So you are advised to read the particular chapter. Project versus operations. So that we discussed about operations in this. Here also, operations is work done to sustain the business. Okay. So project is a temporary endeavor. So if you categorize these main attributes of a particular project and day-to-day operations, project is a temporary thing, and it would end when the objectives met or when the project is terminated. Sometimes you may terminate project even without meeting the objectives. Okay, so it's a temporary and it would end when objectives are met, and it's unique. All right. However, the operations are ongoing activities that may be day-to-day activities which we do in our offices. Okay, it's repetitive. Every morning you have to clean your desk. You have to sign for whatever the request letter sent to you. So those are ongoing activities. Okay, and repeatedly that would happen in your company. However, project is something not like that. It would have a unique purpose and it's temporary thing that would be specific for a particular time period. So working in IT companies, sometimes for some people it's very interesting because the projects change from each other. Okay, you are not doing some basic routing work like doing some office work in maybe a government office. Okay, so working in IT companies, something that would allow you to learn things continuously. You have to learn, otherwise you can't exist in that company. Okay, new technologies come, so new requirements come, so you have to learn them and you have to apply them and you have to realize them. Okay, and you have to deal with the issues coming after that. Okay, so that's something interesting. The people who would like really work and learn, that would best fit for the people like that. So both of these project and operation, these main features are common. The both of projects and operations are planned and executed and controlled, and both are performed by people. And resources are limited both for projects and operations. So if you look at these, the three boxes, this color, the white color one shows you the factors specific to project only, and the pink color shows you the factors specific to operations only, and the things in middle are the factors which are common to both projects and operations both. So these are some good examples for IT projects. I have discussed that with you previously. And in an IT company, there are two kinds of managers specifically. There are more than two kinds, but if you compare the main difference between project and a program manager, project managers would work with project sponsors, project team, and other people, other stakeholders involved in the project, specifically with a specific target to meet the project goals, to meet the requirements of the customers. So that's their main goal. However, program is actually a group of related projects managed in a coordinated way. So in one project, there should be one project manager. Okay. However, program there would be one program manager for a set of projects. Okay. So the main objective is to obtain benefits and control. Okay. Not available from managing them individually. So so that's the main difference between project manager and a program manager. And program managers would oversee problems, often act as bosses for project managers. So they would not go into detail. So like us as an example, if I mention, So assume that there are 3 software projects. One software project is behind the schedule. Okay. So a program manager would not look at what are the reasons behind this lagging behind. However, he would advise the project manager that look at you, your project is behind the time. So he would oversee these problems rather than going into detail. So the project manager has to go into detail and look at what is really the problem which would make this lagging behind. Okay. So he would look at in detail and look for solutions which would fit for their particular project team. So that's the major difference between a project and a program manager. So if you look at the project life cycle, it would consist of several phases. So you know that I think you have discussed about project life cycle in other lectures, in other subjects, maybe in software engineering. So, so initially we have to, the first phase is project initiation. So second one is project planning. Project definition would be carried out in between phase 1 and phase 2. And in the third phase, so after having a very detailed planning, you would have the project execution according to the initial plan. So after identifying what need to be done, so projects would be executed. Okay. And the fourth component is project closure. Okay. So during project execution, the main important thing that need to be done is monitoring and control. So this monitoring thing is really important, mainly because we have to look at whether we are acting according to our plan. So what would happen if we are not acting on our plan? What would happen? So actually then those are the reasons why we would run out of time. Why would we run out of the budget allocated? Okay. So we have to constantly monitor, and if there are any changes, I mean, we have a plan and so if I draw it here. So this is our planned work. Okay. And this is the reality. Okay. Sometimes it would go something like this. Okay. So this is mainly because this gap is the mainly because main reason why we should do this. Monitor and control. If we do not monitor this gap or the distance in between the real actual expectations and the actual. Okay. So if this becomes higher and higher without controlling, what would happen? We would run out of money. We would run out of the time allowed. Okay. So if this gap becomes higher and higher, we have to monitor it and we have to find a solution for that. Okay. So during the project execution, this monitoring and controlling thing is really, really important. So if you have a very good monitoring system, so as soon as you see this going a long way down, you should stop that and you should find solutions or changes to your initial plan so that you can make this come up. Okay. So, so after the project during the project closure phase, so this arrow shows you the during project closure phase. So every deliverable need to be sent to the customer, and every process initiated need to be closed down. Okay, including the open procurements, which also need to be closed at the end of the project closure. Okay, so these are the several 4 phases mainly in a project's life cycle. So in project life cycle, the initiation phase would involve starting up the project, and during the starting up, we would have to do this. Okay, we have to document a business case. So what's a business case? So business case is the main initial document about this specific project. So this business case would be used to identify what the problem is and what the amount of money available, about some idea about the amount of money available, and what the problem is and what kind of solution is required. All of these things are in detail into some extent. They are described in this business case. Okay, and the feasibility study, which should check whether this project is feasible to carry out, whether we can do this project within the given time period and within the given budget and within the available technologies. Okay, so whether the solution asked by the customer is can it be provided, taking into consideration the timeline and the amount of money. Okay, terms of reference after appointing the, yes, terms of reference also. Some document we prepare after appointing the team. So in this phase, goals, major goals of the project and the specifications of the project and the tasks and the responsibilities are defined. So the responsibilities are mainly defined by identify the project team, and for each and every human resource, there should be a particular set of responsibilities that need to be fulfilled by that particular person. So those need to be defined initially for the project persons using a better human resource plan. And the planning phase. Planning phase, as the name implies, it is involved with planning things. Okay. So you have to set up the road map for the project by this plan. This plan is really important. It should be realistic. Okay. So a good, well-experienced project manager is always good at planning. Okay. So this PMI, they mentioned that always most of the projects are successful because of having a very experienced project manager. Okay. So this experience really matters a lot. So is this planning would involve setting out the roadmap for the project by creating these plans. There are specific different plans that need to be created for different scopes. So the main project plan that would include every plan, which will incorporate every other plan, like resource plan, how the resources would be used, who are responsible for what, okay, and what kind of resources do we have, what kind of resources do we need to outsource. And the financial plan, how the money would be allocated and how the money would be put into the project when we compare a timeline during the given timeline. When would we receive money? In which amounts would we receive money? Okay, so all of these things are planned in the financial plan. And the quality plan. So what are the standards or quality standards which we are going to meet in this project? What are the quality standards required by the customer? So what kind of quality does he mean to his project? Okay, so so by adapting the standards and identifying the standards, so at this phase you would not try to identify all the quality standards required. Okay, Rather than that, you can plan for what kind of standards are we going to have a look at, okay? So although you may not be able to select, you can plan for a particular quality required. And the risk management plan. So what's the risk in a project? So as a good example, risk, so when you are going in a rainy day outside, there's a risk that you will fall down. So similarly in projects, there are risks that would occur. So in risk management plan, when you are developing the plan, first you have to identify what are the risks that would occur, okay? So some risks are positive and some risks are negative. Negative risks would impact you badly, while the positive risks would impact you for good, okay? So, negative risk for an IT company may be not having the hardware parts on time required, okay? So sometimes you may have a new release of a software available. So there's a risk that if we all go to that new software, if you all propose to go to that new software, there's a risk that we will run out of time because of the time required for training employees with the new software is not included in the timeline, okay? Those are some example negative risks which I have in software projects. So we should have a risk management plan. So to that, for each and every this plan, this monitoring and controlling thing is really important. You have to identify a set of risks or whatever the financial matters, and you have to keep on that track or keep on the plan while you are carrying out the project, okay? So if we are actually going out of our plan, there should be some monitoring mechanism. So those things are also should be incorporated in these plans. So in risk management plans, firstly, risks, positive and negative risks needs to be identified, and you can have management, you have to apply management strategies for this particular risks. And the acceptance plan and the communications plan. Acceptance plan is, so you create a software for a particular customer. So the project is successful only if you can satisfy the customer, okay? Customer's requirement is a very important thing. So the acceptance is normally given to your software by your customer or the stakeholders. So this acceptance, how we are going to do the acceptance? So what's the procedure? What are the methods are you using going to present these particular developments to your customer? And what's the main terms and conditions that would both parties would agree with during this acceptance? Because there are some customers who are requesting for changes day by day. If you don't have a very good acceptance plan with them, they would ask many changes at the end of the requirement, at the end of the production of the software required. And the communications plans also. Communications with the stakeholders is a quite important thing. So if you look at this, most of the companies, so this communication, many of these projects fail because of bad communication. So you should have a good communications with the stakeholders. Sometimes the stakeholders do not know whether these plans actually, whether we are tracking, going with the plan, okay? And whether there's something went wrong, okay? So this communication is really important to keep the customers advised up to date. So up to date, this advising that there's a time delay in the project currently, it's because of these reasons. So if those things are very well communicated, there would not be surprises at the end. Okay, most of the time these surprises to the customer side comes because of this not good communication plans. So you should prepare for the monthly or bi-weekly meetings with the stakeholders, to progress meetings, to discuss about the progress achieved and to discuss about your future plans. Okay, so those are really, really important. And the execution phase involves building the deliverables, and while building the deliverables, you should, so this is the most time consuming phase of project. So you should control the project delivery, scope, costs, quality and risks, and other issues while you are doing that, okay? Mainly because sometimes, as I told you previously, there would be changes from our initial plan. So if this is our plan, and if this is the reality, okay, so we should control these changes. So if you are here, you should monitor this gap. So this is the expectation and this is the reality. There's a very huge gap and it is increasing. The gap is increasing. So while you identify this increasing gap by monitoring, you have to do change control, okay? So there's a change happened from the initial plan when you compare with the actual line and the initial plan, there's a very big gap, okay? So to reduce this gap, you have to you have to take some actions. Otherwise, this gap would increase and increase, and it would affect badly for your time goal, for your scope goal, or for your budget goal, okay? So during this phase, the status reports are generated status reports are generated mainly to discuss in the progress meetings. These status reports would identify the current status of the project in terms of achieving the triple constraints, which are time, cost, and scope, okay? And this is another document, required changes done. So it's the name of the document, okay? What are the required changes which have been done, okay? Quality is also should be maintained, and forecasts are also done. So in project management, there are several techniques which we can follow to look at the forecast. As an example, if you are working, you are doing some project execution work, and you can use the software and the techniques to look at if you do this work in this way. So how much time would you require to finish this specific activity? Okay. So likewise, you can have a look at the forecast. So if the forecast is quite lengthier than the time in the original time plan, as an example, you can outsource a person for the team, so that time wastage would not happen. Okay, to keep up with the plan, we may have to hire one or few programmers for the specific team. So that can be done by looking at the forecast during this execution phase. And the closure, it would involve winding down the project. So at the closure, it's not like we stop everything. So we have to release the staff for the company because they were under your supervision up to now. And then you have to hand over the deliverables to the customer, and you have to do the post implementation review. So why do you need to do a review at the end, which is you may think as an extra burden for the team, IT development team. So this post implementation review is very important, although you may not think as it's an important thing. The main importance is actually because of, so you know, as a project manager and for the company also, there would be some similar projects come in the future. Okay, so this post implementation review or lessons learned from the previous project is really, really important for, particularly for a project manager and for the company itself. Because when you have those specific points written as a document, so these were our initial goals, this is how we achieved them, these are the places which went wrong, and these are the solutions we had on that. So we have all the information in that particular document. Okay. So while you get another similar project, so you can look at when you are developing the budget. So this project A also had the same activity to be done. So how was their actual cost, and how was their plan? So how much was deviation? So as a benchmark, you can use those previous review. Okay, so so like that, it has a very important advantages of having a review of previous project. So it's a must for a project manager to produce a post-implementation review about the process of the particular project. So while delivery, customers need to be trained as well, because this is a new software and the customers does not know much about handling this software. So because of these reasons, he or she need to be trained very well to use this software for the specific purpose they have planned. And resources and staff also need to be released for a new project, okay, at the end. So those are the main functions which should be carried out at the closure phase. So those are the initial main 4 phases in IT project life cycle. And so these are actually the, so this is, since this is the first lecture, you may not see a very good logic relationship between the subtopics we talk. Okay, so these the project life cycle is different from project stakeholders. There's no direct relationship. You can see these 2 topics, but we talk about these topics, subtopics, mainly because you need to have some idea what these terms refer to. Okay. So that's why we have included this initial definition of the terms. What is a project, and what are the main attributes of a project? What is a project manager? Who is a program manager? And what's the difference between a project and operation? So all of these terms are initially introduced to you because they would be used in the coming lecture material. Okay. So without having such a good knowledge about the terms which we are using, you would not get the required knowledge at the end without having good idea about the terms which we are talking. Okay. So who are project stakeholders? Stakeholders are actually the people who involved in or affected by project activity. So why do we call affected by? So it is stakeholders, the meaning, I think the first phase is not very difficult to understand. People involved in stakeholders actually should be the people involved, isn't it? So involved people are all stakeholders and or affected by project activity. The people who are around and affected by project activities are also stakeholders. How can that be? Why do we consider the affected people also as stakeholders? You should invite them to stakeholder meetings. Why is that? Why do you think that? So as an example, opponents of the project, okay? So those are the people who are affected by project activities. You would develop a new software that would capture many customer requirements than existing project in the market. Okay. So the other people who have developed the other software becomes opponents of the project. Okay. There you are competitive people in your project, with your project. Okay, so they also become stakeholders. Why is that need to be like that? Okay, the other things are, straightforward. Project sponsor and project team, they should be stakeholders. Project manager, two places mentioned here. Suppliers, users, customers, support staff, and the financial institutions and banks which would provide you with the budget required. So all of these things are actually related with the project. The other people's views are also important here for your project success. Okay, how the other people may have a different view of the project. Okay, maybe depending on the way they are affected. Okay. So that view also is important for the success of the project. That's the main reason why we include affected people also as a project stakeholder. So that's the main reason. Okay. So what is project failure and what are the reasons for this project failure? So IT projects most of the time end up with having a software which is not accepted by the customer or which is not suitable for the need of the customer. Why is that? Okay. So the reason behind these failures of IT project is mentioned very nicely by this cartoon. So if you look at the first picture of the cartoon, this is the way how the customer explained it. Or he explained that I want a swing with three stools, where three people can sit together at a particular time. Okay, so he mentioned it in his words, and he tried to explain this as much as possible he could. Okay. However, in the second picture, you can see how the project leader understood it. Okay, he understood it as a swing like this. Okay, and after this project leader communicates with these team members, the other picture shows how the other team members understood the concept. Okay, so the communication is really important because of these reasons. You can see the third picture. It shows how the analyst designed it. So he designed it something like this, okay, with the trunk at middle, okay, which is something very different from the one expected by the customer actually. And the programmer wrote it like this, which would not work. Okay, and this is what beta tester received at the end of their testing. And this is how the business consultant described it. This is how the consultant or business analyst described it. And this is what the customer really needed at the end. Okay. So this is how the project was documented there's no explanation about the tree or the swing. And this is the what operations installed, and this is how the customer was billed. Like you can see there are some peaks. There are 2 peaks, okay, where the customers build during the life cycle of the project. And this is how it was supported by everyone. This is not supported by people. And this is what marketing advice. Marketing advice swing like this, which is actually not similar to one expected by the customer. So this is what the customer really needed. Okay, but you can see this is what he needed. This is how he explained it. Okay, so he don't know the real solution that the other party can offer. So that's the main problem. And the team leader or the project manager of the other side, in the software company side, he doesn't know the customer's real requirement, because he describes something and you're trying to grab things and you are trying to compare the available solutions and try to find the best solution for the particular problem. Okay, so initially the requirements are very broad and unclear. However, progressively you will get rid of these problems. Okay. So if you look at project failures, so I'd like you to think about why does projects fail, the main reasons. So some may blame to the developers and some may blame to the customer or maybe for the upper management. So can you think about, I will give you a few minutes, think about the reasons seem to blame the developers. And then some reasons seem to blame the customer or upper management. Can you please send me using the chat? I see there are only 39 students are there. So what happened to the others? Please let the others know that we are having this lecture from 9 to 11 on Wednesday and try to attend that. Yes, one person has said me budget estimation is wrong. So that may be one reason to blame who? Blame the upper management. No teamwork, the team may perform. May not perform well. Use new technologies without experience. That would also be a decision of the management. Developer implement their own ways, yes. Not having proper management. Project does not fulfill customer needs. So that's the main reason, one of the main reasons that the project fail, which would blame actually the project manager, weak developers. So if you look at all of these reasons, many of the reasons you can align with one person. So that is actually the project manager. So if you look at these reasons which seem to blame the developers, so these developers did not design it well. and uncommitted or demotivated developers would be there. And there are weak, antagonistic and unreliable developers or contractors would be there. And the sources are not well controlled and abundant planning. So these are some reasons that would blame the developer. Okay. So some of these things you have mentioned in your answers, I noticed. So what are the reasons that seem to blame the customer or upper management? First thing is feature creep. What is the meaning of feature creep? Features creeping like a snakes. So the feature creep actually is, so while you agreed upon certain features, so while you are carrying out the project, some features which have not included in the initial plan are proposed by the customer. Okay, so then there would be a problem because we have to redesign everything and redo many things. Okay, so that would be a reason for failing a project. And unrealistic schedules, expectations, so incorrect requirements, they both of these things, unrealistic schedules and unrealistic expectations, have both responsibility of a customer and the upper management. And the incorrect requirements, customer may have not explained it well, and the people in the project development team may have also not understood the real requirement of the customer. So, so if you look at all of these reasons, these are the main reasons which would blame the project manager. Okay, poor planning, insufficient risk management, insufficient quality assurance. So poor planning is mainly because he may not have thought about the changes that need to be incorporated to the plan. So his plans may not be realistic, and he may not have a very good experience in planning. Okay, and the second one is insufficient risk management. So the risks are not managed very well. Risks are not identified beforehand. He has not put enough potential or time to identify risks. He may not have looked at the previous project's reviews, and somehow he has not identified the risks. So the risk management is insufficient. Fourthly, quality assurance is insufficient. So this quality of the project is not to the not up to the standards required by the customer. So that is also a problem of himself, which he has not paid attention to. So those are the reasons which seems to blame the project manager. However, who is really responsible for all of these problems is the project manager. Okay, you have to understand that. So that's why project manager's role in a project is very important and very well paid off. Okay, they are given a lot of money. As a project manager, you can earn a lot of money. However, that's a job which is very responsible. Okay, you have to be, you may not have to work so hard as a programmer, but you have to think, and you have to lead people, and you have a very high responsibility. Okay. Okay, so those are the main reasons behind failures of projects. And a project manager's role is actually, he need to ensure that the project succeeds. Okay, so that's the requirement. So he need to make it succeed. So what's the meaning of successfulness of a project? So the successfulness of is achieved when customers' requirements are fulfilled. Okay, so that's the main requirement: satisfying or fulfilling customers' requirements. So therefore, the project manager is responsible when problems occur. So when there is a problem, project manager should be there and he should propose, he should manage everything, plus he should propose a solution. So project manager also needs to be unbiased. So he is someone sitting in behind the project team and the customer. Okay. So he should not be biased either to the customer side or either to the project team side. So this is mainly because customer or the upper management may ask for unrealistic features and schedule. Okay, so when that happens, you should not take either customer side or the project team side. Okay. So it's not the project manager's role to make such a schedules work, but pushing developers by pushing developers harder. So he should sit in behind and he should please both the customers and project team by getting unbiased decisions. Okay, so that's not easy task. Okay, and a very good, very well experienced project manager would work unbiasedly, pleasing both customers and the project team. So these are the skills identified as very much required for a project manager, or much important for a project manager. So, so these are called 6 traits of highly effective project manager. Be a strategic business partner. So not a project manager, but a strategic business partner. Okay. So from that actually, which is implied is much familiar and friendlier than a typical project manager. So we are actual business partners. So we would like to improve the customer's business rather than just addressing his requirement issue for the particular project. Okay, and encourage and recognize valuable contribution in both sides. Respect and motivate stakeholders. Always you have to think about stakeholders' views and ideas also, not only your own view and your team's idea. So you have to respect and motivate the stakeholders by identifying their ideas also as important as yours. And be fully vested in success. Always you have to try to be successful by identifying the gaps in between the plan and the actual situation. Stress integrity and accountability. Always you have to think about the stress of your team members, and you should need to be accountable for each and every situation of the project. And work in gray or be able to deal with ambiguity. You should be able to work in each and every situation in a successful way. So those are the main skills of a project manager. And so up to now, so if I review what we have discussed so far, we have discussed about the requirement of project management, and then we discussed about main advantages of project management. So those two topics highlighted the importance of IT project management for IT companies. Okay, and then we discuss about what a project is, and then we discuss about what are the attributes of a project, and then about the main phases of a project, and what are the main triggers of a project, and who are the main stakeholders of the project, and what are the reasons behind these failures. And then we discuss about project manager, why he is, what are the main skills a project manager should have. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about another few terms. For another new term, we teach a triple, which is triple constraints of a project. So what are the triple constraints of a project? So because of the importance of of these three features in project management, they are called triple constraints. Okay, so successful projects, project management means meeting all these three goals. What are they? Scope, time, and cost. Okay, we have to reach this target, reach our goal by satisfying scope goal, cost goal, and time goal. Okay, so apart from these three, which are called triple constraints, this quality is also really important. Quality is the fourth or quadruple instrument constraint defined. Okay, quality is also very important as these three defined here. And lastly, not only these four, you have to satisfy project sponsor, which is in a way related with scope goal as well. Scope goal is defined by the project sponsors requirements. Okay, so what is the scope, time, and cost, and why are these scope, time, and cost are called triple constraints? So are these three work as constraints in a project? If so, why? Why only these three? So scope is actually defined as what work need to be done in this project. Okay. So what work, if you further in detail discuss about what work is actually the unique product or service or result does the customer or sponsor expect from the project. So that is the work we need to carry out. So that would define the scope, okay? And during this scope goal, the scope verification is really, really important. So why does the scope verification is important? So you discuss with the project team and you discuss with the customer and you develop the scope verification or you develop the scope, okay? So this scope verification is mainly done with the customer. So after developing the scope, we have to verify it by the customer to check whether we have understood what the customer really expects from the project, or whether we have understood the real requirement of the project, okay? And the time constraint is related with the time. So how long should it take to complete the projects? And what is the project schedule? What are the milestones? So at which time which we would reach these milestones? And how will the team track actual schedule performance? And who can approve changes to the schedule? Okay. So these are actually one of the constraints of a project. And the cost. So what should it cost to complete the project? The cost is also really important because we can't work without money. So the money is given to us by the customer. So this cost or money management is really important. So for that, while doing the management, we need to look at the cost to complete the project, and we had to look at the project's budget, and you had to look at how the costs are tracked and how can authorize changes to the budget. So those are actually the triple constraints of the project, and those describe why these are important in project management. So how would you define a successful project? So this actually we discussed initially also. However, we will discuss in more detail here. So successful project, how can you define the successfulness of a project? And projects need following. What should be followed to be successful? So those two questions, can you think a little bit about the factors that would need to follow to reach the successfulness, and how can you define the successful project? Yes, someone says fulfilling customers' requirements. Yes, a successful project is mainly defined as it would satisfy customer or sponsor. Okay, to satisfy the customer or sponsor, one should meet the scope goal, time goal, and cost goal. Okay, only if by satisfying scope, time, and cost can he satisfy the customer. Okay. The result of this project met its main objective, so it's satisfying the customer's requirements, such as making or saving a certain amount of money, providing a good return on investment, or simply making the sponsors happy. Okay, so to make the sponsors happy, you have to meet their requirements, and specifically you have to meet the scope goal, time goal, and cost goals as well. Okay, so that would define a successful project. So what does the projects need to succeed? Sponsor support is a must. Okay, if the sponsor initially for some period helped and then he disappeared. Okay, he allowed us use his money. So we are using his money in the budget. However, after a while, he is not coming to the progress meetings. We don't have any, he is not allowing us to meet him. So that is really one reason for unsuccessful projects. This is mainly because you don't know whether you are actually meeting his requirements, and he doesn't know whether there are problems in the project, whether there are problems that would make project can't meet his time goals, project can't meet his cost goals, project can't meet its scope goals. So this communication, frequent communication is really important. So lack of communications means there's a risk that the project would be unsuccessful. Project would not be able to meet the customer's requirements. And user involvement, both of these things. User involvement means sponsor is the person who gives the project and tell about the requirement. No, so the users are the people who would use the software. Okay, so if the users are not involved in this project, we don't know really what the users' requirements are. Okay, although the sponsor mentions the users should really involve in testing and while requirements collection process, so that's a must. An experienced project manager is a must for a project, because less experienced new project managers would, I don't say that they can't do it, but most appropriate one is experienced project manager. And minimize scope, realistic estimations, those are actually required for the successfulness. Scope should be minimized and discussed thoroughly with the customer, and the estimation should be realistic, specifically budget estimate, time estimate. However, in real time, when you are doing a project, you will understand that estimations which are done at the beginning are worst. The main reason is because the requirements are very unclear at the beginning. They are very broad and unrealistic. Broad and requirements are very broad and not unclear at the beginning. Okay. So because of that reason, the estimations also are affected by that reason. And standard software infrastructure. So if you don't use a standard software infrastructure, there would be problems that would make the project failures. So these are some suggestions which are taken from the winners or the successful projects. So recent research findings show that companies that excel in project delivery capabilities, their capabilities are use an integrated project management toolbox. So it reduces a lot of templates, standard templates for particular functions, and use standard advanced project management tools which are recommended. And grow project leaders, emphasizing business and soft skills. Always you will grow project leaders, you allow the leaders to grow, and you would emphasize the business and soft skills on these project leaders. And develop a streamlined project delivery process. Project delivery process is streamlined, so there are no any lags, and it's well managed and well on the budget. And the measure project health using metrics like customer satisfaction or return on investment. So continuously having progress meetings. In these progress meetings, you should have metrics to show the progress of the current project. Okay, customer satisfaction and what the return you get on the investment. So likewise, you need to track things and show how the trends progress. So those are some suggestions by the winners or the successful project managers. So so now we have discussed about projects, and project management is defined as the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. So it is called project management. So that's what we are going to discuss in the coming topics in coming weeks. So the project management framework which we are discussing in the coming lectures is something like this, which is defined by PMI. It has 10 knowledge areas where the project manager should look at. So the first knowledge management, first three areas are actually related with three constraints: scope, time, and cost. So scope management need to be done, time management need to be done. So these things, some things need to be done parallelly, and some have to do at specific times. Time management, cost management, quality management. So those are the main important things. And the other things are human resource management, communications management, risk management, procurement or outsourcing management, stakeholder management. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 knowledge management areas. To keep all these 9 in a single project, you need to integrate them. So it is done by project integration management. So those are the 10 main knowledge management areas which we will be discussing nearly within 10 weeks during this. Some topics we may need some more time during this lecture series. So project management knowledge areas describe the key competencies. So 10 knowledge areas of the project management. 4 core knowledge areas are scope, time, cost, and quality. And facilitated knowledge areas are human resource, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. And at the end, we need to have integration management to integrate all of these 9 areas. So, so apart from that, so you need to know about main difference between project portfolio management and project management. Okay. So as part of project portfolio management, organizations group and manage projects, software projects and programs as a portfolio of investments. Okay. So in project portfolio management, software project is only a single part. Okay. So it would contribute entire enterprise's success most of the time. Portfolio managers help their organizations make wise investments to decisions. So assume that as a project manager, you are given a project by the upper management by a serious investigation. So there may be several projects that the company can invest into, but the company does not invest on all of them, does it? No. He would, the company would, mainly portfolio managers would help to identify which projects need to be invested. Okay. So assume that there are 4 projects A, B, C, D, and these portfolio managers would select either 2 or 3 projects to invest depending on the budget available. Okay. Maybe let's assume that not budget, resources available. So assume that there are 3 projects that you can involve with, which would give you enough income. So those decisions, selecting those ABC only mainly done by these portfolio managers. Okay, so it would help to select and analyze project from a strategic perspective. So those are portfolio managers. However, in project management, what we are doing is actually, after selecting the project by the portfolio managers, we are carrying out that project. Okay, so while project management, we have tactical goals of carrying out project of looking at whether we are carrying out the project successfully, and are the projects on time and on budget, and do project stakeholders know what they should be doing. So like that, it is done in project management in very detailed level. However, in project portfolio management, it's looking at, are we working on the right projects? So have we selected the right projects? So are we investing in the right areas? So in those projects areas, are they the best areas need to be invested in the current situation? And fourthly, do we have right resources to be competitive? So some higher level of strategic goals are achieved by portfolio management, while project managers worry about their specific projects success. So these are the leadership skills for a project manager. While the managers in the project would deal with day-to-day activities by meeting specific goals. However, focus for project manager is on the long-term goals, okay, and the big picture of objectives. So he should think about the future, big picture, rather than a long-term plan, rather than worrying about day-to-day specific activities. Okay, he should inspire people to reach the goal. He should show that while you are doing this, we are achieving this goal. Likewise, he should lead and show people the path to follow. Managers need to have leadership skills as well, and he should be a good example to lead them to success. Okay, rather than forcing people to do and talking too much, he should be a good example. He should show it by his own work. So these are identified as the 10 most important skills of a project manager. People skills, he should be able to work with any kind of person. And leadership skills, listening skills, integrity, ethical behavior, and consistent. And strong at building trust. He should have a very good trust with the other people. And verbal communication, very good verbal communication skills. Strong at building teams. He should select people suitable for each and every team. Conflict resolution, because when you are working with people, so you'll realize this. So at the end, in the next year, you are having the third year final project. So they are also, you will get 4 of your friends to work with, but some people would not work very well. Some people would not like to talk too much, okay? So there would be conflicts coming because of the differences in ideas. You as the leader you should be able to resolve this conflict. Manager should be able to work with each and every person. Okay, uh, people have different characters. However, because of those differences in character, there will be conflicts. So you should be able to manage those conflicts. And critical thinking, problem solving. So there would be problems coming up all of a sudden you have never planned. So you have to use critical thinking to look at solution. And this is one place where the experience matters. Okay, the problem solving skills are mainly related with the experience you have. Understands, balances priorities. So you have to balance the priorities of your team members as well as your customer. However, in IT project management specifically, it is challenging because of these unrealistic deadlines. Always people ask for the solution for a very short time period. However, that cannot be done because of these requirements are unclear. Okay, and the scope changes. And resource competition, human time, money, there's a competition in the resources. And in insufficient team skills, sometimes the skills required from the team and expected from the team are not achieved. And the customers and end users are not engaged during the project. So this also we discussed because of poor communication. It's also challenging. Vision and goals are not well defined. So our goal is this, our vision is this. So that need to be defined and always it should be discussed in the progress meetings. So, so this is one reason why I told you that programmers are, project managers are, management is a very good career if you want to select at the end, so as your career. So these are the from a survey. It's identified that project management lies secondly as the 10 hottest IT skill required for IT companies. Okay, so the project management is second skill that a personnel in an IT company should have. So actively participate in the lessons, so it would benefit you at the end. So project management certification, so I should mention that you can also have that from this project management institute. They have exams and they have standard material prepared for these exams. They develop standards and they give the certifications. So go to this website, Project Management Institution, and have a look at those. Okay, this is a summary of the lecture. So we discussed about main terms. We tried to define the terms for what is a project is and attributes and about the differences between projects and operations and who is a project manager is and what's a project management and what are the main subtopics in project management or knowledge areas and skills of a project manager. So those were the main things we have discussed so far. So you have, if you have any questions, you can ask me now. So I'll upload the lecture slides as well as I'll put a link for this video of the lecture. And if you have any problems, you can ask me.